That reference is probably to Satan's last and final attempt, his third rebellion at the end of the millennium period. And so what this says, I'm going to go through without it. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong, there has not been ever the like, neither shall there be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wickedness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. A fire can also refer to a literal fire, or it can refer to as God's anger. And in this verse 3, basically talking about these beings are coming, this mighty army that has never existed before, to this time, and never will again until many, many generations into the future. It is coming, and they're going to destroy with fire. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. That's verse 4. Horses can symbolize a form of transportation vehicles, and in this instance, they can spit, beam, fire, which we would look at as weapons. Verse 5, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. And this is a description of UFOs or some kind of mode of transportation. Also the terms used strong and mighty, again, always referring to fallen angels and hybrids of our ancient past. Goes on to verse 6. Before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on in his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. This is a supernatural army. This is obviously not a normal army, but rather some kind of army of darkness, one of Satan's. This is not the war of Armageddon. These soldiers cannot be killed. They can fall upon a sword, and they cannot be killed. In verse 9 it says, they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. And this is referring to the fact, alluding to abductions. They can abduct people out of their homes, or whatever. They're crawling into their homes, their windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And this also coincides with Revelation chapter 9, verses 2. In fact, this whole passage does, and we're going to get to that. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong and executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. Who can abide it? Again, the day of the Lord being a time period. And this is basically towards the beginning of this time period, this passage Joel is talking about. I have seen in the Bible codes about an alien and UFO invasion where they come in a hostile invasion firing beams of fire onto the earth. And this is the same thing the prophet Joel was talking about. He describes chariots, which is another name for UFOs, firing upon and burning the earth. It says they have the appearance as horses, not being horses themselves. How else could a prophet describe such a sight so people could understand him? He used terms he knew to try and describe a future event. And this was all any of them could do, use terms they knew to describe future events. I'm going to jump over to Revelation chapter 9, first verse. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And Satan is this fallen star, and he is allowed to release the captives of this pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. The bottomless pit, folks, is the abyss. The sun and the air is dark, and it coincides with the same of Joel 2, where he describes the same way. And there came out of the smoke locusts. Locust is another term for demonic or the aliens upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And scorpions is another term for demons. It was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. Their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. Some interpret this as helicopters, obviously describing some kind of transportation here. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon, which means the destroyer. And this chapter in Revelation, chapter 9, gives us 2 woe judgments. In the first part of Revelation 9, what I did was I split up these verses in Revelation, because Revelation chapter 9, verses 1 through 11, talks about one woe, and the second part talks about another. And it's the second part that coincides with Joel chapter 2. But I wanted to go through this first part first. In the first woe, we see that Satan is allowed to loose his forces from the abyss, also known as the bottomless pit, and they are to torment mankind for 5 months. Anyone who doesn't have the seal of God on their foreheads, and death is impossible for them during this time. It describes the shapes of the locusts as being modern-day helicopters or some kind of transportation. They use these helicopters or UFOs to torment mankind with, and their leader is the destroyer. And this is basically a judgment from space, because these beings that are coming from Earth to torment mankind for 5 months are coming from space. The next woe features a judgment from Earth, and if you look at Revelation 9, verse 12, one woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great Euphrates. I don't know if my voice is going to hold out here, folks. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year. And this is approximately 395 days. And their being loosed is for to slay the 3rd part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And this is 200 million, folks. And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat upon them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these 3 was a 3rd part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For the power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them do they hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, they repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, and idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. Revelation chapter 9 depicts 2 different woe-type judgments. The first woe lasts for 5 months, and the second for approximately 395 days. The first woe was from space, with Abaddon, the destroyer, as their leader. And like I said, how do we know it's from space? It's because the bottomless pit is another name for space. Interesting enough, there is an anomalous object that travels around the sun, which NASA calls a comet, which is named the destroyer. The first woe uses terms such as locusts with the power of scorpions, and they descend upon the earth. As the scorpions of the earth have power, scorpions are also used as a name for demons, and this group of beings doesn't hurt